Hey everybody, it's Bill Duran here from Punished Props here in my little prop shop. And I just got back from BlizzCon last weekend down in sunny Southern California, and it was really awesome. I got to go hang out with my wife. It was her first time there, and she had a really great time. We used to play World of Warcraft together a long time ago. So it was perfect for the both of us to kind of get away for a weekend, and it was a blast. I got to see a lot of my other costume and prop making friends down there, and a whole bunch of amazing costumes, like this one here from Dino Roy, brothers with my friend Mario over at AAA Cosplay. I'll have a link to their page down below. Go check that out. That wasn't the only amazing costume. There were tons of them. There's something about BlizzCon and Blizzard that inspire people to really bring their A game. So if you are into World of Warcraft and cosplay at all, do make the effort to get down to BlizzCon. With that out of the way, let's get down to business and talk about sanding tools. I've said in the past that sanding is something like 90% of prop making, and it's true. But you don't have to do it all by hand. There are many tools that'll help you along your path. Let's start with sandpaper. Pretty necessary ingredient. Usually you'll go buy it from the hardware store in handy sheets in a variety of grits, or you can get it like in a belt for your belt sander. But my new favorite method is to get these big rolls that are about 3-inch wide in a couple of handy grits. I like to go with 100 grit and 220 because those are the ones that I use the most. I'll just hack a piece off and use it until it's totally worn out. And I only have to use what I need instead of trying to cut down those big unwieldy sheets. Also, sometimes steel wool can be really handy, especially when you're trying to buff something like metal to a nice shine. As for tools, there are many of them, and all of the ones that I mentioned here today, there will be links to down in the description. So if you want to pick up one yourself, you'll have a handy way to do that. Let's start with sanding blocks. These are the most basic sort of sanding thing. You still need to use a little bit of elbow grease, but I have a couple that I keep 100 and 220 grit sandpaper on that I use every single day, and I would say this is a must-have for your prop making shop. You can also make some of your own sanding tools by gluing different grits of sandpaper to things like dowels or popsicle sticks. A similar method would be to use a nail file. Next, we take a dip into the power tool category using a rotary tool, either a Dremel or in my case, this handy Craftsman one, which I've had for 4 years. It hasn't died yet. You can get a couple of different sized sanding drums in different grits, which is super handy for doing things like cleaning up the edges of EVA foam and doing any sort of detail sculpting in any number of rigid materials. Next is an electric hand sander or a random orbital sander. These are great for doing large areas of stuff and knocking down big sort of rough areas. Similar would be the belt sander. If you really need to chew away material, the belt sander, especially that handheld one, is a great way to go. You can also get it in a bench top variety. Again, you can get different grits for this, and it's really great for getting clean edges on stuff. One of my very favorites is the disc sander, also available in your bench top variety, usually attached to a belt sander. You can get that combo and they work out really well together. Again, this is hard to replace in my shop. I use it every single day. You can set the angle on it so you can get nice bevels sanded on stuff, and it is fantastic. You'll also want to grab a belt sander cleaning tool. Basically, it's like a giant pencil eraser, but for belt sanders. You can use this piece of rubber to clean up the stuff that gets gummed up in your sandpaper. One of my other favorites are drum sanding bits. You can get a set of bits in different sizes and of course in different grits as kind of like a big Dremel bit. The great thing about these is you can put it in your power sander and get some really good powered sanding action out of it. Another fantastic method is to put the same bits in your drill press. This is kind of like the poor man's oscillating spindle sander. It's really great for getting interior rounded curves cleaned up. If you do have the coin, then I highly recommend you get that oscillating spindle sander. I just picked up this bad boy and it is awesome. Again, I got a bunch of different grits for it so I can do some better detail work on it. Great for working with foam. You know, I love that EVA foam. And ever since I bought it, I did not look back. It's fantastic. If you want to get really crazy, you can get air-powered sanding tools. One of the ones I have is a rotary tool, basically a Dremel on steroids. You can put some bigger bits in it, and if you need to remove material, this is the way to go. Also is the mini thin belt sander. It's, as far as I can tell, the closest thing to a lightsaber that we have so far. It's really kind of cool for getting little detail stuff, and I don't use it very often, but when I do, I'm glad I have it. Another fantastic trick, if you have belt sander or those rolls of sandpaper that I mentioned earlier, is to cut off a little strip and put it in your scroll saw. That's right, you can cut a little piece of sandpaper, so long as it's the cloth-backed stuff that's really durable, and put it in your scroll saw for some fine detail sanding. Finally, most importantly, right here, a pair of hands. Most of us are born with two of them, and they work really great for sanding. And while the rest of these tools are super handy, most of my sanding are done with these paws right here. So that's what I've got in my sanding repertoire. What do you have? What are your favorite sanding tools? I want to know. Tell me in this description down below. Also, check out some of my other handy videos right here, all about the making and building of costumes and props. Thank you guys all for watching, and I almost knocked over my soda. All right, we're calling that good.